Earlier this year, the world was attacked by an invisible enemy.
A pandemic, the likes of which we hadn't seen in a century.
The arts have united us like never before.
There are many stories to be told right now.
Stories of despair.
New life.
Confusion.
Loss.
New beginning.
Togetherness.
Hope.
Resilience.
These are your stories.
I don't know what to do. I mean, I never really do, but I wake up and look over and you're not there. And I think it isn't because you're at work. And I know it isn't because you woke up early and you've got a book and you're in the living room like you always used to do. I try to believe it is. I try desperately. Maybe if I believe it enough, it comes true. But I know you're gone. I don't know what day it is. I don't know how long it's been. I can't keep track of time. I know it was too recently. It'll always be too recently. But the dogs keep whimpering for you. They know something's wrong, but they can't do anything. We can't do anything. I mean, I don't even know where you are. I can't come get you. I can't bury you. You're just lost out there. Well, maybe I'm the lost one. I mean, I didn't know all the things you did for me. I can't even find the can opener. Even if I could, I couldn't cook what's inside. You're always so happy when you're cooking. It doesn't matter anyways. I'm barely eating. I just can't stomach it. I wish that my phone worked. Maybe if we had seen each other. I know I failed you. I know you were probably terrified and you just wanted to see me. And the FaceTime, it wouldn't work. I couldn't dial. It doesn't matter anyways. Even if I could, you probably would have ended up comforting me. You're always good with the hard stuff. I don't know what to do now that I'm alone. I can't do half the things you could. And even if I could, I couldn't do them half as well. I feel selfish because I keep thinking, I can't do this alone. I don't want to do this alone. I don't want to do this alone. I am alone.
I too was becoming lonely, isolated and locked down. You know, at our age, we're considered high risk. Some of my friends already succumbed to the virus. This state of loneliness can only push us closer to the edge. One stormy morning, I heard some scuffling at my door. So I opened it up, and to my surprise, there was a dog. He was wet and he was muddy and he was emaciated, but that didn't dampen his spirit. He looked up at me with those big brown eyes, and he wagged his tail and he cocked his head as if to say, "Are you gonna let me in or not?" Well, he had no ID and it was nasty out. So I invited him into the house. I gave him a big plate of spaghetti and meatballs, and I gave him a bath. My intention was to take him down to the shelter after the rain stopped. I had a dog years ago, and I wasn't thinking about another pet right now. So I sat down on the couch to read a bit, and he jumps up on the couch, puts his head on my lap, falls asleep. I was hooked. Boy, was I hooked. No shelter for this guy. So I took him to the vet instead for his tune-up and prepared to spend the rest of my life with him. Sometimes I wonder who wrote the word sucker on my mailbox. So I named him COVID, the wonder dog. What else should I name him besides COVID? Why the wonder dog, you ask? Because he's always wondering what kind of treat this sucker has in his pocket for him. And boy, is he smart. He's got me so well trained that when I play fetch with him, he makes me give him his reward before he chases the ball. He's been such a comfort and joy to me. Because of COVID, I have a new zest for life. I can hear the birds sing. I can see the butterflies flapping their wings. I could smell the flowers. And I have a new taste and sense for all the beauty around me. And I know now that I can get through this plague with him.
Now listen here, Sue Ann. I don't care what nobody says. We were transferred to a parallel universe last Tuesday. Now before you interrupt me, I was in the car on my way to the store, and I did hear about the virus on the radio. But like all things in the media, I just ignored it. I didn't give it a second glance until I saw the extraterrestrials in the Publix. Now, before you call me crazy, they had masks, gloves, gowns. They had Lysol strapped to their sides. The second I walked in the door, they strapped a mask onto my face. I've been on this earth for 50 years, and I've never had to wear a mask. Ridiculous. So I decided to go on down to Eddie's house. You know, him and his wife are an extreme couponers, and they've got that big old room full of stuff. So I decided to give the door a little knock. And that sucker opened the window and squirted me with 91% alcohol. What a way to treat your neighbor. Anyway, so I said, "What in tarnation are you doing, boy?" And he opened the door, ran after me in a hazmat suit. Just crazy. So I left there too, and I decided to go on down to the farmer's market. because you know your daddy would be mad at me if I didn't bring anything home. So when I arrived, there was not a single soul selling nothing. Not one. Nah. No, I know what I saw, Sue Ann. Not a soul was there. So I saw this young boy walking down the road, and I asked him where everybody went, and he said some place called Quarantine. Quarantine. Like everybody needs to go there. Well, I do know one thing. If Quarantine is a place with masks, gowns, gloves, hazmat suits, and extraterrestrials, I don't want to go.
Times are tough right now. Our days used to consist of being nurses in the cardiac ICU unit, interacting with patients, learning about their lives, talking to their families and friends. That's why we became nurses, to help people and watch them fall back into their normal selves. That is now a distant memory and the crucial reality we have to face every day we go into work. Every long-hour shift haunts us. Our unit is now the COVID-19 ICU. Our vision is clogged of people on ventilators, suffering, and all alone. We're left as their only human interaction for days at a time. This is a lot of pressure for a nurse. I knew there was pressure that came with this job, but nothing like this. The hospital walls follow our every move as we try to take every step and we feel suffocated. It feels like there are cinder blocks weighing on our hearts, making it hard to breathe. I don't understand how this much pressure can exist in this world. But luckily, I'm used to that high stakes mentality. I used to play college softball, remember? One play can cost us an out, a run, even an entire game. Whenever I feel overwhelmed, which has been a lot nowadays, I just think back to the state championship. The energy was intense as we were watched by our coaches and fellow players. We win the game, and all I can hear is my teammates screaming and crying. We did it! We beat the odds! It was one of the best moments of my life. We were off to nationals, and I felt so proud of myself. I think about that a lot. That keeps me going. Now, we're a team. All of us. And as your teammate, I'm always there to support you and cheer you on. If we just keep working hard, doing our part, and help slow the curve, we can go back to normal. I know this won't be for a long time, but as long as we're out there doing our part and helping our team, we can handle all the pressure in the world.
When people around you say that you are sick, you start to believe this. I didn't feel panic, but I was angry. I was angry at the whole world. Many people who got into the same hospital as me, they weren't even sure if they were affected with virus or something else. Many people were diagnosed 50-50. At the same time, I was convinced I would die. Did I fight? No, I'm a pacifist. But I was amazed by these people with burning need to live. This is where life really is. And I was shocked how someone with such a desire to live has a chance to die. But life can be strange. And after a long time at the hospital, they told me I were even sick with COVID. Oops, I guess. Even though many people in the hospital were sick, I was the one who went rejoicing. Now I understand I have all the rights to live. And therefore, I have the right to happiness.
Normally when you have a baby, it's really fun and exciting. Everybody wants to come and visit in the hospital. But nobody could this time. Only dads could visit unless they showed signs of COVID. Not even grandpas or grandmas could visit. It just wasn't safe. And that was really difficult. If it had been Layla, I would have been a lot more worried. But since this was my second time around, I kind of knew what to do and what to expect. With Layla, I was really scared and nervous. But this time, I was scared and nervous in another way. Normally, you want to show your baby off to the world, but now you couldn't. I felt incredibly anxious. I had to get tested as soon as I got to the hospital. Before I got tested, everybody was wearing a lot of protection, and that was really intimidating. With Layla, they encouraged me to walk around a lot to speed up the labor. But this time, once we were in the labor room, we couldn't leave. I felt so trapped there. Luckily, I didn't have to wear a mask while I gave birth, but everybody else had to. I only really saw my doctor and my nurse, but they were wonderful. One thing that was really different was the amount of women scheduling their deliveries. Typically, women don't schedule their deliveries unless there was some medical emergency, but due to COVID, people are just trying to get patients in and out of the hospital as fast as possible. Normally, they like to keep you there for about 24 hours, but now they let you go after only 18. With Layla, I was there for 3 days, but this time, I was only there for just over a day. Leaving so fast made me feel extremely scared. But having you, I felt so relieved. You gave me a tremendous amount of hope amongst this chaos. Everything was so crazy back then. A pandemic, the fires, an election. But just knowing that healthy babies were being born and going to loving families, you gave me such a sense of hope and peace and just calm. You gave me a feeling that everything was going to be okay and that everything would be all right in the end. And it was.
Could Could you elaborate on that?
I'm sorry?
Oh, you said it felt like you were hallucinating this pandemic. Could you elaborate?
I mean, I guess I've been seeing people posting pictures and videos of themselves, just like out and about, eating at restaurants and going to the beach and just doing whatever they want. No masks, no distancing. It's like I'm imagining the whole thing. Like, I've been holed up in my apartment for 6 months, trying to keep it from spreading to others, keep from getting it myself. And here's Daniel, posted up with the frat bros at an all-you-can-eat buffet. I know I can't do much to help. I have no money to donate. I'm not a doctor or a scientist. I'm just holed up because it's all I can do to deal with this. But it seems like everywhere I look, people are just acting like nothing is going on. Am I crazy or something? And then I feel like I'm just lucky enough to be able to quarantine at all. Like, there's any number of people who can't afford to hide away and they're just stuck out there struggling.
Yes,
But people are just treating it like it doesn't exist. They just can't do anything to avoid it because some guy wants his McBurger and he wants it now. There's a pandemic, people. Act like it.
it's a big burden for sure.
What do you mean?
Dealing with the pandemic, it's a big responsibility. For those of us who cannot do anything beyond stay at home to help the situation, it's scary and monotonous at times. Many people wake up feeling like they're experiencing the same days on repeat. I know I have some days. And it's equally invalidating feeling to see others disregard these efforts, which is an entirely understandable feeling.
Yeah,
It's okay to feel that way,
it doesn't feel like it's doing anything.
but it is. Every person who locks themselves away for the collective good, even if they are more focused on their own well-being than others, is reducing the spread of this virus. For every person who is quarantining, there is one less bed filled in a hospital. There's less need for hospitals to turn away patients because of lack of space. It is impactful. It's just hard to see it because we're collectively navigating an alien experience.
But what about the people who aren't?
Oh, believe me, I understand. It feels like you're holding up a tarp in a downpour, like you're keeping everyone under it dry, and then some people are unwilling to hold up the tarp. Or maybe it's more like they're unwilling to believe in the rain because they aren't wet, so they poke little holes in the tarp to see if the rain comes through. It's tiring, I get it.
But how am I supposed to deal with that, Doc?
Well, you must focus on the parts you can do.
Like,
You
what?
can be and are quarantining. You're helping as best you can, and you have been for months. Every day you aren't out extraneously is a day you aren't spreading this disease around. And while that doesn't feel like much on its own, think about that. 6 months, that's 180 days, give or take. It's 180 days you haven't spread this virus to those people who are essential. And
But-
180 days you haven't spread it to people poking holes either. It's monumental and it's trying, I understand. But think about if you hadn't. Oh, that would be 180 days of you being able to spread it, even if you didn't get sick. The amount of people who are helping to the amount of people you are helping to protect is innumerable. And then you must think, well, if I'm doing it, how many other people are doing it too? It's unfortunate that so many people are not following best practices. I understand this. But think about how many people are. If you have avoided spreading this pandemic for 180 days, how many other people have too? Hundreds? Thousands? Perhaps even millions. After all, there are some 360 million people in the States. It isn't all of them. I know. And that invokes any number of emotions. I understand. But you're helping. All the people who are following best practices are helping. The people who are working because they must are safer with you staying in lockdown. The people
It's
who are
not.
working to save lives and minimize spread are safer and are in a better position to deal with things because of you and other people like you. It isn't
It's not.
and will never be perfect. I understand, but you're making a difference. And while it is easy to lose sight of this when everything looks to be a downpour, it's because of your efforts and the efforts of those like you that this pandemic isn't spreading worse.
It
To,
doesn't
to
feel like
refrain the to reframe the rain analogy, instead of thinking of the pandemic as a downpour and your efforts as holding up a tarp, think of your efforts as the raindrops. One droplet doesn't appear to be anything upon observation, sure, but many drops adding up, you may feel like you are one droplet. But if you look around, you can see others too. Everyone in quarantine is a droplet. Everyone wearing masks and distancing when in public is a droplet. The medical staff working overtime to take care of those who are sick. Everyone who's working to stem the tide. When you look past your single droplet, you can see that there's a whole tempest. Listen, you're not alone.
It was a hellish day at work. The environment was around me was becoming too much for me to handle. It was like something out of World War II, and I never, ever thought I would be trained for something like that. Thousands of nurses were running around me with face masks on. I could see patients literally suffering on their deathbeds. What is the rate of survivors? I can tell you it is nothing as high as the rising death toll. There is a part of me that is remaining calm because I was trained for something like this, but there's another part of me that's on the road of a nervous breakdown. Every patient that I was tending to was looking at me with helpless eyes. I listened to them as they spoke their thoughts. What were their thoughts? Nothing positive. One of the patients that I was tending to was dying thanks to COVID. I could see her strength fading and feel her breath fading away. I had to break her ribs in order to keep her alive long enough for her to say goodbye to her family. She asked me if I could bring them in. I told her no, it's too dangerous. Thank goodness she nodded understandingly. I did tell her that I could provide her with an iPad so that she could see her family one last time. She agreed. I found one, activated FaceTime, and gave it to her. She typed in her family's number, and they spoke and continued speaking until she passed. Every death I see, every death that I never should have to see, will haunt me for the rest of my life.
I am a veterinarian. I take care of your dogs and cats, but I'm also considered an essential worker during this pandemic. But so much has changed for me and my team, for my clients and their pets. And we've been able to adapt to all of these changes to have acceptable outcomes for our medicine, and we've made it work as hard as it's been. You know, during normal times, I don't remember what normal times were, but during normal times, I would accompany my client with their pet into the examination room, but mostly for the clients and pets that I've been seeing for a long time. And before I even examine their pet, we would chat, we'd talk about our kids, we would talk about vacation, or whatever else came up. We'd laugh and we'd kibitz. And you'd think there was a party going on in there. But it was like a family reunion, and we all felt good. Not anymore. Not now. Clients aren't even allowed into the hospital unless they're there to euthanize their pet, unfortunately. Now we have what's called curbside drop-off. So the clients bring their pet to the door, my tech goes out to talk to them and bring the pet in the back for me to examine. Then I'm supposed to call them with my findings. But I don't always do what I'm supposed to do. I've broken the rules. So I go outside to talk to them. Yes, we're wearing masks. Yes, we're distanced. But it gives them such comfort and puts them at such ease to see my face. When this started, we canceled all of our elective surgeries and our wellness appointments. We limited the number of patients that we would see in the hospital until we figured out how we were going to get through this viral swamp. And we were limited in our supplies, gloves, masks, gowns, syringes. We had to preserve those for our counterparts in human medicine. But my staff is devoted. You have to be devoted to do this work. We worked long hours, masked side by side, all in the name of safety. But the changes that were made were able to get us through this and get the work done. And we're very busy. People are adopting pets left and right. They don't want to be alone. The shelters are empty, and that's a good thing, and we hope that continues. So being useful and essential has worked for us. Making all the changes has worked for the pets as well. And positive contributions to their health and welfare has been making this bearable. And we pray that this pandemic ends soon.
We people carelessly think that we have enough time to do something that we really want. To change our hairstyle, to sew a dress, to bake the most delicious bread, or even to start all over again. So when, if not now? I always wanted to be a fashion designer. I wanted to learn how to sew and cut, to create clothes myself, since I was a little girl. But real life and responsibilities pushed this dream away. Quarantine gave me the chance to focus on what I really want and to finally realize my dream. I think that after the pandemic, many people will understand what they really need in this life. And I realized for myself once again that it's never too late to listen to yourself and to start all over again.
Today was supposed to be the best day of our lives. A day that I've been dreaming about ever since I looked at my mother's wedding magazines as a little girl. Today was supposed to be our wedding day. I was supposed to walk down the aisle, look at you in your tux, and smile knowing today started the rest of my life with my best friend. But this pandemic happened. I thought we were going to be fine since it was later on in the year. then the numbers started to rise. Tens turned into tens of thousands. I didn't want to believe it. How could this happen? Postponing the wedding was one of the hardest things we've ever had to do. But we knew that at the end of the day, it was the right decision. I know. We didn't want to risk infecting those that we love. I just want everyone to be safe and healthy. And I know you want that too. So, here I sit in our living room, hair up in a bun, sweatpants on, and not an ounce of makeup. I looked at my dress today. I cried. I'll wear that dress one day, though. Who knows when that will be? It'll be soon, though. We'll wait for as long as we need to so that it's the right time. Once everyone starts to get better, follow the guidelines, we will get back to normal. It'll all be worth it. It'll all be worth it. Because as long as I get to marry you, with our families and friends beside us, in a time where we can be safe and healthy, we can have our fairy tale ending. Our happily ever after. Today was supposed to be our wedding day. I'm sad, but hopeful for our new best day.
This is not the end.
Take a deep breath.
Look for the silver linings.
The art have been here for us.
Thank you for supporting the arts in a time when we need it most.
There are more stories to tell.
What is your story?